Hello, once again.
Hi,
Well, I am Rebecca,
and I'm Bernette.
and we are back again for part two of a session that we started um, earlier.
And I interviewed Mom, so you all get to know her a little bit better.
Yes. And so this time I'm going to be interviewing Bernette so you can get to know her a little bit better. So,
And I have no idea what she's going to ask. I just,
you know what? I am
I
not
did that
sure
to
what.
you.
Right. I am not sure what I'm going to ask her either. I have not given her any questions, and nor have I prompted her with anything. So, we're going to start with Bernette does a ton of things, and trust me, as her mother, she always has. It didn't just start. This was from the young girl right on up through today. Always busy, always doing a ton of things, and from one thing to another, just multitasking, and so she is still doing that today. So what my first question to her is going to be, what are some of the things that you are doing right now in your life? I know that you are a mother,
Yes.
a wife,
Yes.
and then
And we have this channel.
we have this channel.
So
Yes.
that's a couple of the things. And I'm a writer. And I write inspiration, poetry, nonfiction. Of course, I've got some of my books. And I also write fiction. So I've got a novel out called Chosen. It's a sci-fi paranormal dystopian novel, and it's the first book of the series, and hoping the next one comes out next year, and then there's two more to follow that have all been written, but they require editing, which is so much fun. And then there's, I've got a novella called Crossed, a novella called Out of the Woods, Goldilocks Meets the Modern World.
Which is really cool. It's a fun book to read.
Yeah, and it's not as long of a book if you're not into longer novels. And then I've got a few nonfiction. So, this is a self-help, kind of a guide to learning how to read pendulums. If you're interested in starting with a little bit of intuitive development, the pendulum is a great tool.
And that's under A. Bernette.
Yes, let me talk about that. So A. Bernette is my pen name. And when I decided to start writing almost 2 years ago and take it seriously, being a sci-fi writer who's a female and African American, I didn't want to immediately make people think any kind of way about my books or whether or not they should test it out. So I did a pen name. Those who know me know the pen name. If you're coming off the street and don't know me, there's no judgment of my gender or ethnicity by A. Bernette. We do what we must. And my guide for how to write a 4-week first draft is also under the pen name A. Bernette. And I wrote this after writing...
How to read what?
How to write a 4-week first draft. So how do you write a novel, basically, in a month? Because you can do it if you focus.
I have not been able to do it.
But of course, you have no interest in writing novels either.
No, I don't.
None. But you can do it if you focus and with some tools and some organization, which is what that helps with. And then, of course, my poetry. I love poetry. I've always been writing poetry. And actually, that was probably my first form of channeling, because I would write poetry, and sometimes I'd look back at it, and at the time I didn't know. Like, why would a 12-year-old girl be writing poetry like this? Probably because I was bringing something else through.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So poetry is still one of my favorite forms of writing, and my book Resist, Persist is available as well, and it's a book of poetry that speaks to the truth being within you, and it has some social and political themes in there because we are in a time where that's very real, and it's reality. It's very real, very pressing, and I don't deny that we exist in this three-dimensional world, because we do. At the same time. I love this book. I wrote this, published it last September. Heaven is Now, Enough Excuses. You Are Worth Living For. And it's a collection of essays and talks I gave when I was doing ministry at a small church, as well as poems and meditations. And some people have told me they pick it up whenever they just need a pick-me-up, whenever they need to be reminded of, something good. But it's a reminder that you don't need to wait until the afterlife to live your life and have what you want. You can start doing some of that now. And this book is incorporated in my Creating Miracles program as well.
Well, before we get to the Creating Miracles program, you have written another book most recently.
Yes, which I don't actually have a paperback copy of it yet, but it's out. It's Protect and Clear with the Divine, and it's a collection of prayers and affirmations to protect yourself, to clear spaces, for blessing, for helping remove negative energy. It's a metaphysical, spiritual book.
It is awesome. It is awesome. I'm serious. I believe for myself it is one of the best things you have ever written.
Thank you.
And it works. It's just a powerful book.
It really is, and that's not to toot my own horn, but I was writing prayers and affirmations for other people and clients who had a situation, and for myself, because if you read the book in the first part of it, which explains why it's so important, you take for granted that just because you're a light worker, that there's no dark side. But there are dark forces out there that would love to dim your light. Love to, and you can't let them. But how do you stop them? And I had to do some things for myself and my own family to protect us. And I said, if I'm having to do this, I actually have some of the tools. What about all the people out there dealing with this who may not have the tools? And people would say, well, I'm dealing with this situation, is there something I can do? And I would go and write a prayer or an affirmation. And I realized after a while that I had all these prayers and affirmations. And I put it together in a book. And it's on Amazon. And it's really a book that you just want to have on you. You pull out what you need it when you need it. Protect your house, your kids, your family, your work, your home, whatever. Yeah, I do really like that one.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
Yes. So now, you've written a ton of books.
Yeah.
And trust me, she wrote that last book in about a month or less. I went on vacation, I came back, and the book was done. It was on Amazon. So, you do have a knack for manifesting really quickly. You're a manifester.
I guess I am.
You are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I finally, yes.
You're a manifester.
I got you here. That took a while.
But it worked.
Yeah.
So now, recently, we came across, during the summer, we were introduced to Access Consciousness in bars.
Yes.
And out of that, we gathered some tools and started applying them to our lives, which have really impacted and have made a difference in things that are happening with us right now.
Yes.
But you have taken from that, pulled out of that, you have done your own program.
Yes.
21 Days to Creating Miracles?
It's Creating Miracles, and it's a 21-day program anchored in 3 simple tools. And, I started it, and I guess I do manifest pretty quickly, because it's only December.
Yes. Yeah.
So, well, I believe that once you put your mind to something, you can have it. It can happen. And in September, I was not in a great place, and I was really not feeling anything I was doing. I'm producing things and people say you're prolific, and I'm like, yeah, but so what if it does? If it's not reaching anyone, I'm creating all this stuff and it's not reaching anyone. Why bother? And I really was just like, I could just sit on the couch and have as much effect. And, and then I was going into like the state of feeling a little depressed and sad about my life and feeling like nothing was actually working and why bother? And I think I had, this moment at night, and I wrote a poem about it because that's what I do. But I realized, and this is also why I had to write the Protect and Clear book. I realized that in addition to there being this physical thing of I wasn't seeing the result of my work, I was also under a spiritual attack. So I had to deal with both of those things. And the Protect and Clear was my way, and doing some of the clearing and protection of my own energy a little bit more, and removing the negative spiritual energy. I did that. And then I also did this 21 days. I said I was going to do it for like a week or to the end of the month. And then you said you should try it for 21 days. And I was like, why not? You said someone else had tried it, and they said, yeah.
Yeah, so you should do it for 21 days.
So I said, okay, I'm going to do 2 of the tools from Access. And then I added another tool, which really undergirds the manifestation part. Because I wanted to see results. Darn it, I've been working really hard. I mean, this is just some of what I've written in a matter of 2 years. And I really, really wanted to see them out to the world. And not to mention, I produced a CD in August and my song. And I'm like, okay, you got to show me something. And so I really meant it. You got to show me something. I needed to see something. And so I started. And the first shift was me. I wasn't sad. So I started, and a couple of days later I realized I wasn't sad. And that was the biggest thing. Because the first shift is within. And then I started seeing things manifest on the outside. And I would get random calls to have an opportunity to share my poetry, to be featured as a featured poet, which was pretty cool. And
well, hello, we are back. We are back. Welcome.
I was about to go into a coughing spell.
Oh, and press pause and must have pressed stop.
I may have. I hope.
So the candle's over here. Okay, so I decided to try it. I had nothing to lose. And I started manifesting opportunities to be a featured poet at some events. And there were several, and I've listed some of them out in the Creating Miracles program materials, but I was so excited that I had to share it with other people. Because I said, if it's happening for me, and if I was feeling this way, there are other people feeling this way. And so I created the program and pretty much even wrote a book about it.
Yes.
Yes. I wrote a book about it, but I've narrowed it down to a program that was digestible to people, that they could do in 21 days. And just finished, at the recording of this video, we just finished the pilot, and the results were amazing. I had one lady who, after more than 6 months, or she may have been looking for a job most of this year, she got a job at the end of the 20 days. Yeah, at the end of the 21 days. Other people had, found money, improved relationships, the things that they had wanted, the things that they went into wanting. They all got a boost in that area. They got uplifted. They wanted peace. They got more peace. They wanted love. They got more love. I think it was really funny. One lady who participated, she wanted some downtime at work. She didn't, they were being overworked, and she was tired. But she had to go to work. And she said, how does it get any better than this? And it's one of the tools. And production stops. And, you know, she works in the factory. So production stops. And she's like, wow. You know, and part of the thing is, you know, you ask it again. And the volumes of production stopped for almost 5 hours that day, giving them paid on the job time off. Like, I mean, right? You can't make that stuff up. So it's pretty cool but it happens on the level of your understanding and where you are.
Yeah.
But I'm excited because it's going to be available as an online program or workbook, and people can from anywhere can take it. I'm excited about that.
Well, I mean, and speaking of you manifesting things, which seems to be immediate manifestations, there was something else that you manifested as well. I mean, it just came down to you immediately. And I think it's called the Heart Course.
Yes. So when we were doing the spirit release things, so as it works, what happens usually is that she'll do some research on the subject and get all deep into it, like 10 books deep of researching information on something, while I'm like writing or making music or doing something, and then she'll be like, Bernette, have you thought about fill in the blank? Or have you heard about fill in the blank? And it's like it turns on some switch. It's like where I hadn't been thinking about it. Suddenly it's like ding, 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 ding. So you've been studying this.
Yes.
And then, you know, at the same time, I think we met that morning and said, Mom, I wrote down this method of releasing attachments, which I call the heart method. And she's like, interesting, because, you know, I was just reading about this. And they were like lined up.
Yes.
But yeah, I channeled a method for releasing attachments that other people could use when they needed a way of going through and understanding how it works. And it is something that just about, I do believe someone who has some training as a spiritual healer would be most suited to do it. But yeah, it's a course that I'm optimistic that in the future you and I can actually share with other people.
Well, you know, I look forward to that because I'm all for the healing and spirit release.
I know.
Because
it's powerful.
For me,
it really is.
It's huge.
It is.
It is huge.
A lot of the issues that people are dealing with aren't even theirs.
Yeah, they belong to attachments. Yeah. And, you know, according to the those that work with it, the professionals, about 75 to 80% of us are walking around with attachments.
Can you imagine that?
That's a lot of.
Every 3 people out of 4 people you meet
has an attachment, which is, at one point, at one time or another,
So so that one was interesting. But
So,
I haven't made that into a book yet. It's
I'm sure it's coming. Although I might do the book on that one before she does, because
well, I asked her to write the background for it, remember? Yes, I want you to do the background on it.
that's right in line with what I love.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about your channeling.
Yeah.
And how that came about, because initially you were doing mediumship. So why don't you go back and tell us how you came into the mediumship part, and how where did that begin? And
I think it began somewhere inside you, and I was, growing. Pretty sure I was born with the gift. And as a child, I experienced some unusual things that scared me, made me uncomfortable, couldn't make sense of them. Sleep paralysis, feeling held down, seeing things that I couldn't explain. And as a child, that can be scary. And I essentially turned it off. I did have of the abilities at that time. There was one that was actually kind of fun. I call it my lamppost flying. I would It's going to sound crazy now, but fly outside the window and around this lamppost that was outside, never going that far from home. It was like I could see it from the window, and I would go out and fly around, and I could feel myself come back into my body in bed, fall back down.
Wow. I had no idea.
Yeah, yeah. And
No
sometimes
idea.
I thought I'm going to, because I would be scared in my own room and run to your bed to sleep. And now I wonder, did she ever rest? Because I was always running to your room. But I was afraid I would wake you up sometimes because I could feel the jolt. But that was probably the positive side. But I did put it to rest, so to speak. I turned it off. And I knew I had guides, and I would communicate with my own guides.
Amazing, because I had no idea.
I didn't know what to call them until I was older. But I had this sense of judgment, an inner voice that seemed wiser than...
Yeah, I know I didn't have to tell you much. You always had a sense of what you should do and what you shouldn't do. And I just thought, well, wow.
Yeah, it wasn't me.
Easy one, early to read.
So I didn't know what to call it, though. When I went to Rochester to visit you 11 years ago, 11 and a half years ago, I think. And I went to Plymouth Spiritualist.
I think less than 11 years. So I was right there from 2007.
Was this 10 years? I was
10 years.
Maybe 10 and a half years.
Okay.
Around there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just visiting, and the lady who was a visiting minister, visiting speaker, she points at me during the message delivery time and says that you're clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient. And I'm assuming she's talking to the person behind me or someone else, because she must not have been talking about me.
You didn't even know what it meant.
I didn't even know what it meant. Was not even on the radar. But it was kind of like once an awareness has been set, it turns on, which is just the way it is. So once I knew that it exists, once I knew that it was possible, then it was possible for me. And the next morning I woke up and I could feel several people around. And I told them that I was sleeping. I'm still sleeping, and they couldn't bother me at that time. Setting some boundaries immediately.
You do set boundaries.
Yeah. Setting some boundaries immediately. But it was back on, and from that point, I was able to tune in and connect. But, developing guidance still took some time for me to trust myself and trust the messages and guidance I received. As far as intuition, but I could connect with spirit, and I guess that translated later to channeling. You're using the same pathways of energy, and I've been channeling as a writer.
Yes.
As a child, I'd always written, and I guess that was kind of already open. I didn't completely close down. I just made it safe for myself and what I could handle.
Right.
But I guess I'm older now.
And so the mediumship led to the channeling.
Yeah.
And so the beginning of channeling was when you heard from Setha? Or was the awareness of channeling before that?
Well, we did the sessions.
Yeah.
So those I was channeling messages from those on the other side, and that could be considered mediumship as well, because they were people who'd crossed over. It's interesting you ask me this question, and I think back to all the times I would be writing and I'd be doing this. I guess some people call it automatic, but I was aware and I'm writing, and it looks like chicken scratch because I can't keep up with how fast the words are coming. And usually those messages were for me. It was like a channeled message for me from my guides. And that's kind of how I interpreted it, that it was for me. The message from Seth was different because it wasn't just for me.
So tell us about the Seth or the Setha.
The first time that
Yeah.
happened. So you had just left. And you have to understand, I work hard. I work hard.
Yeah.
And
Yes, you do.
and you left, and I said, okay, it's time for me to get back to my writing. I was in the process of editing a book and several other projects on my plate that I paused because we did those first sessions. And we really wanted to get as many done as we could while you were here. And so the next Monday, I think it was Monday, I'm sitting at the desk. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I have so much work to do. Where do I start, God? So I start, I do a little prayer of, give me guidance of how to start and what do I focus on. And I got the words, why do you call me God? What? That's not what I was expecting, but it got my attention. I think that's why, it was said like that. And I knew that I had to get out a piece of paper. I got a notebook and a pen, and I just started writing. And I got a name, Seth Setha, and I wasn't sure who that was, but I finished, I continued writing, and then I had to go rewrite it so that I could actually read it. And I was like, oh my goodness, who is this? I don't know who this, is. And I was afraid that it was, I guess I thought it was a bad person in the Bible. I was trying to remember, I heard the name Seth in the Bible, and I couldn't remember if it was someone who had done some really bad things. So I was a little nervous, and I couldn't really find anything clear. I just Googled Seth, and then you get Seth Rogen. I was like, okay, so I asked Mom because she knows a lot. And so I sent you a text. I think I sent you a text asking who it was or if you knew anything about this being. And then she texted me back something like, you don't know who this is? And I'm thinking, if I knew who it was, I wouldn't be texting you. So it's like, no. So she calls me and explains to me who it is. And I felt overwhelmed. Quite honestly, I said, I don't even want this. That's what I said. It's like, I don't know if I want that judgment. I'm like, you mean he came through and, I was a baby, I guess, when he came through, if that. Was I even alive? But, I was spoken to again, as Spirit tends to do. And I was told that I didn't have to do it now. But by summer, I had to share the messages. And I said, okay, mid-July, I'll share the messages. That'll give me time to process and get myself together. And so I did. I think the first message came out exactly mid-July. And then we did another one in August. One was done through Janie Butler's the Lighter Side Network channel. That was posted in September. I posted one more on our channel in October. And I've got a short one from Setha that I'm going to do, just a short video on our channel here, along with one from my guide, who has made it clear to me that she wants to begin sharing in a more public way with as well.
Okay, so back to Setha. Jane Roberts, as most of us know who are familiar with Seth, channeled Seth. Why is it now Setha?
Okay. So, I didn't know she channeled Seth until you said it.
I told you.
Yeah. But Setha is the name I got because they wanted to bring in the divine feminine as well as the masculine. And it's like I can't just say Setha really. I always feel like I have to say Setha because it's
both.
It's both. But it's like don't ignore the feminine aspect. So Setha represents that feminine aspect, and I guess in this age where the divine feminine is rising to be on a more equal level, It's important to acknowledge that aspect of the Seth Setha entity.
Okay, wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so is there anything else you'd like to add about yourself that I did not ask?
Oh, I don't think so. I think there's plenty.
There is.
There's plenty.
There is
But
plenty. So
but
how,
I love producing. I love creating.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's part of who I am.
So, how can anyone who's listening who might be interested in perhaps your 21-day program for miracles, creating miracles in 21 days,
How
How-
do they get more information?
how do they get more information and how do they contact you? And are you open to readings? Because now that people know your channel and that you are a medium, they might be interested. So I don't know if you might want to clarify that
Okay.
at this time.
So as you all could probably tell, I keep myself very busy. But I do see private clients occasionally. Generally, I prefer to see coaching, and as part of coaching there's a message that comes through, perhaps I do see some for what I call spiritual guidance or spiritual counseling. A simple reading to me kind of minimizes the potential of really delivering guidance that transforms. In my opinion, if it's not going to help you grow, do you really need to know? It really does need to help you grow. As far as mediumship, I have done mediumship. I do mediumship sometimes. I don't prefer to just do mediumship because there's so much other things that I'm doing.
This is true.
Yeah, there's so much other things I'm doing, and it's just an aspect of it. I would prefer to do release because I know that frees you, to do what I'm calling Reiki R3, which is Reiki for releasing, restoring, and receiving. So it kind of utilizes some of the access, but it uses Reiki as a base, and it changes some, but I've fused it from that. So there's really that. But if you want to learn about what I do and the Creating Miracles program, my books, or anything else, my website's the best place to start. And that's BernetteSherman.com. And that'll be in the description below. Again, BernetteSherman.com. And I'm on Facebook at Adored Life, ADORED LIFE. I've got a Facebook group. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. Just Google me. My YouTube channel is BurnsTube 3003. And I think that's it. You can find me. I'm got a pretty unique name.
Yeah.
So I'm hard to if you can't find me, you probably didn't search, but that's yeah. But
Okay.
yeah, look me up.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. With that, I want to thank you for joining us and staying until this point in the discussion about Bernette. And we ask you to like and share below. And if you have comments or questions, please leave them below. We would love to hear from you and hear what you have to say and what you think. And ask us anything. We'll try to answer. Please check out our other sessions on our channel, right here on Spirit Speaks channel. And with that, I think we're done. We love you. So glad you've joined us, and so glad we've had this time together.
Thank you. Thanks for
And to
checking us
share.
out. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. And we will see you next time.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.